Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is day 2 of the Bled Water Festival. This is the 9th Bled Water Festival. Yesterday was a very impactful day. We started off with the younger generation kicking off the event, which I truly found inspirational. There was some beautiful panel moderations and discussions, and I think, which Miss Rees said, the First Lady of Iceland, it's all about knowledge sharing, which was very important, and that was definitely evident in all of the panel discussions, open knowledge sharing and sharing experiences across the board for water security and water innovation. So, we're going to be starting this morning. Firstly, I would like to welcome the guest today, Dr. Alex Musar, the spouse and President of the Republic of Slovenia, has joined us again today, so it's a great honor for him to be here. We're starting with panel 6, and this is about water and sustainable tourism. I'm sure if you view across Lake Bled, plus other great cities around the world, water and tourism is definitely something that's being elevated. And from my research after the COVID pandemic, water does provide a very good therapeutic element for health and well-being. So with great pleasure, I would like to invite Dubravka Kalin, General Director of Ministry of Economy, Tourism and Sport, and the Tourism Directorate of Slovenia. Welcome. Second, I would like to invite Tanya Sodja, Digital Project Manager of Bohinj Tourist Board. Welcome. Thirdly, I'd like to invite Altbauer, Director of the Association of Slovenian Natural Spas, Slovenia. Welcome. And our last guest would be Sigrún Tómasdóttir, Resource Leader of Water and Wastewater Utilities at Veitur Utilities, Iceland. Welcome. So, hello. Yep. So welcome. This is a real interesting panel discussion, water and sustainable tourism. I would like to start, if we could just go through each panelist, starting with you, Dubravka, in regards to what does it mean, water and sustainable tourism to you in a snapshot for the audience?
Well, in history, Slovenians were sure that we really have abundance of water. That's why we were not used to take care for water. We also thought that we have the infinite reservoirs of water. We have many local stories that our mountains have inside lakes and so on. So there is enough water for the whole world. But of course we know that's not true. Thankfully, we are doing much better than maybe on some other continents or even some other parts of Europe, because we all know stories in Spain and South Italy and so on, what is going on. But anyway, we recognized in the last years that, of course, we have a lot of water, we have a lot of healthy water, and we use it in a different ways. In the last 100 and more years, of course, spa and wellness tourism developed out of it. But on the other hand, now Slovenia is mostly promoted also as outdoor destination. Around 40% of clients that are coming to Slovenia are coming also because of the outdoor activities, and that's why, of course, water activities, water sports, and so on became very important for our tourism sector. But on the other hand, we know that water is essential for every human being. That's why we are trying now in the last years to make water as the most important part of Slovenian tourism, not because only of the activities, but also as a drinking asset. So now you have many cities in Slovenia that they are trying to offer tap water also in the public spaces. At this moment, we are also trying to implement the hospitality law, and we would like to make sure that people have access to the drinking water also in all our hospitality at our hospitality points. So yes, it's a big focus on water in Slovenia.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. Over to you, Tanya. Just a quick snapshot of what this means to you.
It's definitely, I agree with Dubravka that we do take water for granted. So, and maybe then sometimes we don't do as much as we could. We have. Maybe we also don't use it enough, so we don't use it. We could use it even more in the space of tourism, because there are lots of interesting ideas where we don't diminish the quality of water, but we definitely elevate the benefits for us. We are actually 3/4 water, so, or in some cases, or some interpretations, even 90% of water, so we are part of it. Whatever we do to water, we do to ourselves. So we should take care of water. We should balance the use of it in a way that will make us proud, actually.
And over to you, Aitor.
Yeah, when it comes to water, we have different, I would say, thoughts. But one of the great advantages of Slovenia is that we have also natural, thermal, and mineral water. And this is what the Slovenian Spa Association is standing behind. Slovenia has nearly 90 wells of thermal springs of different temperature, of different composition, but one is equal to each one, and that is they are considered as a natural healing remedies. It means they're used in purpose of health, in preventing the health, in restoring the health, and for rehabilitation purposes. So we use in all of our 12 health and spa resorts that are members in our association also the rehabilitation units, and except one, which is again using water, but a different type of water, and this is Talasso. Talasso means the power of the sea. So we use the seawater. We use highly concentrated seawater, which is called brine, and okay, we have then other compositions like paloids, which is mud, which we also mix with thermal and mineral water and use it for either bathing or for packages or for treatments. So for us, water means also health, and this is one very important issue. And as Dubravka said, outdoor activities in Slovenia are very high demand, but also I have to stress out that the Slovenian spas represent 1/5 of all overnights that are being made in Slovenia. It means we are one of the strongest pillars and one of the strongest tourism products. But we always combine the water. We should not forget that we use the mineral water also for drinking cure. That means that we have this connection. Water, not tap water, but it's mineral water which comes from the depth of the earth, which is sometimes coming out by itself, but sometimes we have to dig like 1,400 meters to get the real mineralized water.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating. I wasn't aware of the depths of the thermal elements. Over to you, Sigrún. So you've got a bit of a different approach, because we learned yesterday at panel 3 in regards to the role of utilities, and we were learning about smart water and what does that actually mean. And I was pretty fascinated from smart water taking down the narco traffickers to providing wholesome, clean water to communities that may not access this. But the utility role in water and sustainable tourism, if you could give us a snapshot of what this means.
Yes, I would like to start though by just saying what a great opportunity it is for me to get to come here and to listen to all of you people. It's very easy to get inspired from all this talk about the importance of maintaining water quality. That's just great. I don't come from the tourism industry itself, but from the utility. But I think they are highly interconnected. And if we say just for Iceland on a general note, I think water is just a great attraction in general for Iceland. And it's in all its forms and temperature. And I really like how I've realized now, both preparing for this trip and being here, how Iceland and Slovenia have so many things in common. And I think it's even more than I could anticipate. And it's this connection to nature, whether it be frozen in glaciers or snow, or pristine water flowing through rivers that are forming the nature that we're then so proud to show off, or if it's boiling in geothermal systems or hot springs. So I think it's really like the largest attraction that attracts people to Iceland. And for the utility industry, then of course, there has been a great increase in tourism in Iceland. I don't know if I can show maybe the slide I had now, if that's okay. It's just a few pictures because everyone likes looking at pictures, but also one graph, if we could put it on the screen, and just showing how the tourism industry has grown really rapidly in Iceland in the last years, but also over a decade. And this has meant a need for, this is actually the first graph just showing the company I'm working for and the systems that we're utilizing. So we're all over southwest Iceland. And this is the graph I was talking about here. So it's the development of tourist arrivals to Iceland since 1950 and until today. And it just shows what a huge change it was around 2010. And this is related to, I don't know if all of you remember when there was an eruption in a glacier called Eyjafjallajökull. It's both famous for its pronunciation, but also from the problems it caused all over Europe. But this kind of put Iceland on the map and led blissfully people to coming to us, because I think it basically saved us from the economic crisis of 2008. But it also means that there's been a large development of hotels and just tourist destinations to meet this, and this all requires resources, hot water, cold water, electricity, and all that. And I think since we're talking about sustainable tourism, I think in Iceland this abundance, like Ms. Reid was talking about yesterday, of resources is really what contributes kind of to the sustainability of tourism in Iceland, because we've been able to develop this with green energy. And but of course this has also meant kind of challenges for utilities, like meeting the demand in certain location. But I think in general, having access to clean drinking water and an abundance of water is really important for tourism in Iceland, both for lagoons and other activities.
Fantastic, yeah. Beautiful slides. Makes me want to go to Iceland. These
are just some of the lagoons that have been developed in recent years in different parts of the country. And the picture in the middle is just a hot pot at a normal Icelandic swimming pool. And it's the same as Ms. Reid was saying yesterday, we do encourage everyone that comes to just take part in this local activity.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. So a question back to you, Dubravka. You mentioned promotion of tap water here in Slovenia for tourists, locals to drink. And Aitor mentioned natural mineral spring waters. And in my mind, I'm like, wow, okay, you have such a diverse range of natural mineral-rich waters, but then also the promotion of tap water. How do you find that balance of promoting local tap water for, say, hydration purposes in comparison to, say, tourists purchasing bottled waters? Are there sort of initiatives out there to promote the lovely tap water that you have across Slovenia with tourism? And how is that approached?
I think that there are possible synergies in this field because we really have a luxury of having healthy tap water in Slovenia. So I think this is that really put us on the map on the world because of the water. On the other hand, if we want to promote Slovenia as a country rich with water, of course, bottled water is also important, and you cannot, also in Slovenia, you cannot get on every place tap water. We are promoting tap water, but also where it's available. And of course, when tourists are traveling around, of course, they need also bottled water. So we don't want to make a war between those two types. I think that the synergies are just possible.
Brilliant, thank you. And question for you, Tanya, in regards to accessibility of waters, especially in the Bohinj region, what would be more of a demand? Would it be for the mineral waters, or do tourists in the area drink the tap waters when they go hiking, or how is this promoted?
We are trying to put out information to everywhere we can that they can refill the bottles of water. So it's all about reuse the existing bottles or reusable bottles, and that they don't have to buy each time. But we do see that people are not aware in general of this, so we can do more and more to inform them that this is a possibility here with us, because in Bohinj we do have amazing water. We also don't disinfect it with, I don't know, chemicals, but we do it with UV lights. So this is a very sustainable approach to keep quality water available for everyone. It's the only time that we are not sure or maybe not promoting tap water is when it's lots of rain, so it gets muddy, and then we do keep out information to boil water just for safety purposes. This is one way. So informing people that they can use water, but also reduce the use of water when they I don't know, clean themselves or wash anything. So it's important to keep balance between both. We don't allow visitors, it's not allowed to visitors to swim in high altitude lakes, for example. This is one way to avoid contamination or, but it is possible, for example, to swim in Lake Bohinj and in the rivers, in the river Sava, not the tributaries. So we are trying to make a holistic approach to everything, so to promote what they can do and what they shouldn't, and how can they help maintain the quality of water and reduce the use of it.
Fantastic. So in your role as digital communications, how do you put that together for that educational elements? Because if I'm in the Bohinj region and I see these beautiful lakes, the first thing that comes to mind is,
jump in.
Yeah. So, using the digital platforms, how do you send this message across to enjoy but don't pollute?
It's a bit hard, I do admit, because Instagram generation puts out everything, and we're sometimes having trouble containing some behavioral tendencies, because of course it's fun and beautiful to make a picture in the middle of mountains, the Triglav Lakes, for example, swimming in it, but it's not allowed, or even skating on it at some point, which is definitely not allowed. But they always, the guests always say, what's the problem? It's just one. It's not one person that makes the difference, it's the thousands that follow, so that's the problem. We do try to promote, so via social media, on websites, with people on the information points, but at the end, it's up to the person and the responsibility of the person that's consuming one of the services that we provide.
I think that was absolutely interesting to see that point of view of the Instagram generation or the Instagram pictures, because it's true, like they see it on Instagram and they will think it's acceptable to do. So I would like to come back to this point through the panel, but it's a very interesting topic that you've raised. Over to you, Aitor. So from my understanding, health, well-being, water is such a beautiful way of, you know, your mind, your body, your soul, of absorbing these beautiful minerals and bathing in waters. With this increase of tourism for this style of health and well-being, could you sort of outline some of the initiatives that you've put in place in regards to protecting the spas, the resources, and give us a brief overview of what this looks like and what the future looks like?
Interesting question, thank you. But I would say, in comparison to Bohinj region and the mountain region, we are actually inviting the people to jump into the thermal water and mineral water, because it means health for them. It prevents, it is, as you mentioned, balance, mind, body, and soul. And that's what we create the programs also together with the water. Also, in terms of sustainability, some spas that have drinking water or their mineral water is also good for the health. They would offer the guests a bottle of mineral water in their room. It is changed every day, so they are encouraged to drink that water. And well, it is in fact that when I just turn this into some figures, and in a yearly base we get about nearly 800,000 guests, which is a huge number if we compare this to the total of Slovenia. And yet we know that we are on a certain level getting to some limits where it comes to occupation. Weekends are sometimes really fully booked, especially now when the summer season is getting in, when we have also our outdoor pools. In the Slovenian spas, we have more than 50,000 square meters of water surface, indoor and outdoor pools. And on top of that, we are a 365 days tourism product. So it means whether it rains outside, it's snowing, it's sunny, we are always ready and prepared to host the guests. And when it comes to a question of sustainability, I would like to stress out one really wonderful example that we also take care for our future. In terms of, we have in one company invested now a huge amount of money in a separate well where we return the unused mineral water back to Mother Nature. In terms of future generations to be able to use that wonderful source that we are using in this, let's say, healing purposes. So I think this is the exactly right vision for the future. We have to take care also for our future generations. We cannot be selfish and use all the sources that we have or that Mother Nature gave us by ourselves and now. So we need to think in the future. A lot has been invested also in solar panels, so we are getting the reduction in, let's say, cost for energy. We know everybody is struggling with these high energy prices, or it was even worse 2-3 years ago. But we are thinking in this way what the future will be and how we shall be also less dependent on the, let's say, market prices of energy, and self-dependent as much as possible.
Oh, thank you for that insight, and especially like looking ahead of, I love the fact of rejuvenating the wells with that. I would like to come back to that topic of how that happens, and potential technology inputs, but we'd like to move over to Sigrún, and from a utilities perspective, water as attraction for Iceland, pristine drinking water from the tap. Iceland has some fantastic water. Do you see a difference between for the local communities, but then the tourism? And are there any spikes with mass tourism coming in and the water quality supplied to the taps? And how do you overcome any of those issues that you may experience?
Good question. I think I really resonate with what you were saying about the tap water and about the drinking water. We are very proud of it and we want people to take advantage of it. And I really think we could increase in showing this off immediately when people come to the airport, for example. When I was flying out of Iceland now, there's one fountain that people can use for drinking water, and it's located kind of at the back side of the airport where the toilets are. It's nowhere to be seen for people to see it immediately, that this is something you can drink. But there have been marketing campaigns that just encouraging people to drink this. And I think that it's the same in Iceland. We do take it for granted, and everyone just drinks tap water because that's all we've done for the last centuries. So people don't really even think so much even about the taste of the water or anything like that. So for me, it's been really interesting now to taste all these different waters that we're having here and realize the change it can have in flavor and everything, because we have relatively chemically poor water. So this taste of the water and sometimes salinity is something I've never tried before. If I didn't only have hand luggage, I would want to take a lot of bottles with me home to give my family a taste. And my colleagues, but we have untreated water mostly. We have in some cases been implementing UV disinfection in the last years, and that's just sort of as a safety precaution, because we have seen with increased monitoring that different weather conditions, like you were mentioning, intense rains or snow melt, they can have an impact on the microbial content of the water. So we've both been increasing our monitoring, especially for the capital area, which is by far the largest area. We've been implementing real-time bacterial monitoring, so we can see that even though it's a measurement of total cell counts, which is not whether they are harmful or not, but just the total cell counts. And then you can see if there's a precipitation event, you can see rise in that. And it's different for the wells we're using because they vary in depth. Some are more than 100 meters deep, some are just 10. So we can see how these results are coming in and then change what wells we're using. So we really try to always maintain the best quality we can and to distribute the best quality we can. And this is whether it's for locals or tourists, all alike. But we want to maintain this ability to distribute clean water. And like Ms. Reed said yesterday, we do have this open bedrock, fractured bedrock, and we often have groundwater levels that are really shallow, so you can get contamination into the water body. So we are worried about that and have been, and we are, I don't say fighting, but almost fighting always to protect these areas and make sure that there's not activity that can harm the water resources that comes into them. So I think that this is, for example, an ambition of the capital to have untreated water for future generations. So we want to hang on to that, but that means we need to protect it and be responsible in how we deal with it. So I think that with increasing technology always, that helps us and aids us in monitoring this and making sure it stays of good quality throughout the distribution system itself as well.
Brilliant. Thank you for that insight. So back over to you, Dubravka. So Sigrún discussed sort of innovative strategies. In regards to the sort of growth and sustainability with tourism, and if it's water tourism that people are coming in, what innovative strategies or technologies have you implemented to allow tourism to grow, but then also with community engagement? Is there any sort of AI, or is there any promotion via websites, etc., where there's a balance of community, but then there's the balance of tourists coming? So there's not an uproar between local communities and tourism, so they live in harmony.
Quite complicated question. Regarding tourism in Slovenian communities, I must say, in the near past, everybody were counting tourists because, except from Bled and Bohinj and also the coastal line, later on Ljubljana, we were not flooded with tourists. So I'm coming from the small town, and of course, when we introduced the tourists, everybody were counting the buses and everything. So they had better analytics than myself, and they all welcomed them. But of course, when the numbers are growing, then of course you have to manage those tourism flows. But of course, in Slovenia, still there is still a big focus of local communities of developing tourism. And also the state is somehow enforcing that with many tenders and so on. Just at this moment, we have in Slovenia 58 projects around in the local communities, which are meant for public tourism infrastructures. And of course, on many sites, there are different projects also implementing drinking water. We were quite surprised how many local communities understood our call that we want to make a gentle transfer and really to introduce water as our strength and of course very big importance in our promotion efforts. So that's why they are now introducing drinking spots of local waters and so on. I think in Ljubljana we also have a special app and you can follow with this app the spots where you can refill your water bottle. I think Ljubljana is the first, and small. I think 5 other smaller towns are following that idea. So yes, we are making progress.
Wow, that's a really good implementation of technology. And I guess this app will take you on a tour of where you can fill your water bottles, but I'm sure there will be a tourist viewpoint of something to see at these filling points. So it's a 2-in-1 of explore Ljubljana and explore the beautiful tap water. That's a really, really nice initiative.
I mean, Ljubljana is, the whole Slovenia is really now very focused on sustainability and the sustainable tourism, because we are a relatively small country. And we cannot afford big tourism flows. And of course, we decided that this little piece of land that we have, we really need to take care of it. So sustainability is now really in the big focus. And Ljubljana is one of the strongest players on that field. And of course, drinking water in that moment, it's not their focal point, but it's a side offer, so it's just another way of introducing sustainability to the clients that are coming to Slovenia. We are not enforcing that with force, but it's a gentle move towards sustainability.
And I think, yes, I definitely agree. There's a gentle mind shift with this approach, and I think it's something that others could learn from, definitely, as part of the knowledge sharing. Okay, thank you. So, Tanya, I know Klemen's not here today, but could you provide some overview of the First Mile project and what impacts that has working with a number of countries, but then also taking in what we've just learned in regards to the promotion of water as part of the tourist attraction?
Yeah, the First Mile project is cooperation between a few countries, so Italy, France, Norway and Slovenia. The project aims to help small SMEs to do the first mile towards sustainability. So they push them towards sustainable practices, so they implement one or two or three different behavioral science based approaches in their own businesses. that helps either reduce pollution, either reduce carbon footprint or waste or saving drinking water. They do give funding for that and all the help. So the knowledge that they need to implement it and to choose the right tactics to make this like a no-brainer for the guests. So it must be simple, it must be just there and do it, not something that you have to go out of your comfort zone to, as a visitor, have to do something extra or, I don't know, go out of your comfort zone to actually help the environment and everything. So that's the point of the first mile, to make it habit or something that you just do because it's there and it's simple to do it, and you do help it in the process, the reducing of and to be responsible tourist, and this is something that then elevates your experience further if you're a guest. So you know that you're helping and you're not even doing anything extra, you're just enjoying.
You mentioned behavioral science.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Could you provide the audience with just maybe a snapshot of what you've learned from this behavioral science and how that's been implemented?
I think the main takeout is if it's easy to do it, you just do it. So yeah, that's so. The point of the first mile is to provide insights on how to make it part of the practice of the business. So it's I don't know. For example, you could. I'm not aware of specific tactics that they chose, the businesses chose, but for example, if you just change the handles on the shower to reduce the amount of water they use when they're showering, and you help them acknowledge this and know that with this shower they used less water than they would at home, this is something that they contribute, and if in the process they do it a little faster than they would, so those are little steps that they can contribute. So instead of buying water in bottled every time, they just can get a refillable bottle, or I don't know, instead of wasting food, changing from big plates to small plates, so it's less waste on food consumption. So things like that. If you explain the science behind it, I mean, the numbers behind it, actually, people, we love to contribute. We love to help the world, and but we are not maybe comfortable, especially not when we are going on vacation, to go out of our comfort zones. So those tactics from the First Mile project help build the bridge between this two behavioral bases that we as humans have.
Brilliant, thank you. I've really understood the sort of behavioral science behind it, and yeah, I think the First Mile project is definitely the collaboration between the countries as well.
Yeah.
So
in total, there's like 80 businesses in all the countries. With Slovenia, it's 20. So for the whole Julian Alps, not just the Bohinj.
So Aitor, a similar question in regards to this, to the spas. So we're talking about the thermal spas from underground. What sort of behavioral science or behavioral changes have you witnessed from pre and post pandemic? Has there been more of an influx of tourism, and is there a age range? Because on my flight from Heathrow, I think I was the youngest person on that flight. So I just wanted to understand, like, is there an age element with this? And just from your time, how would you see this?
Yeah, well, we all are aware what we went through in the COVID time. But we have been able to, especially in the second phase of shutdown, we were able to convince also our government ministries that we need to have our spas open for patient needs. So we were open for rehabilitation. So that was one very important, crucial thing for the people, not to get their conditions worse. Because, for example, if you have an operation, after a certain time, you would be entitled to go for 2 weeks or even 3 weeks for rehabilitation paid by the social insurance company. So that was one thing that we kept on this process. Now, whether we have found any behavior changes, now I would say we distinguish our season and the and our, let's say, target groups. Of course, when it comes to summer and when we open our outdoor pools, we are targeting more families with children. And I think this is also important to learn the children to use of not only the pools, but also the relation with the health and healthy water. Because we have normally I would say 50+ generation that is using the thermal waters. But with this some orientation of some of the spas is towards the family product. And it's the so-called aqua fun, with a lot of activities for the children to play with slides, with all kind of water attractions. And even in some cases, they have divided the hotel for families, so family-oriented, and enabling in other way the wellness for adults only, so that you really have your peace, your quiet, you can devote your time. Some programs have been developed like selfness, which we consider kind of an upgrade of wellness, because somebody mentioned the holistic approach. We consider each of our guests and our patients as an individuum, and we would like to put the program on to their needs. So this is also kind of a shift in let's say forming the programs. One example of sustainability I would like to stress out is what we have started last year. We decided to make Slovenia Green Wellness Route. And what do we mean by Slovenia Green Wellness Route? You're most likely aware that Slovenia is one of the pioneering countries when it comes to green and sustainable procedures, science, and so we have this Slovenia Green label, and we have decided to make a cycling tour connecting all the holders of Slovenia Green label, and among them there are many of our spas. So it is a 14 days cycling tour connecting all the holders of the Slovenia Green. And we believe that this is really showcasing that not only we speak about theoretically sustainable programs, but we show that because going from one spa or one location to the other by bicycle, that's one of the most sustainable ways how to use the transportation and then yet get to the offer which is bearing this Slovenia Green.
I really like that link, and I would love to try that. But we're coming towards the end of the panel, and I've got a quick question for Sigrún. So there's definitely a link between Slovenia and Iceland, and a question to you, it would be the role of cold and hot water in these warm spa thermal geo lagoons, similar to sort of Veitur, and what is the utilities role with this?
I think in general the utilities role is to supply all the resources that are needed for development of such lagoons, and they have been really rising a lot in the last few years. But they have also been, it's not always a specific utility maybe that's in place, they're also sometimes used to just solve some problem. For example, if I mention as an example, there was a tunnel, a road tunnel that was dug through a mountain in North Iceland a few years ago, and they just came across a fracture with a lot of hot water, and this was just troublesome for the tunnel. They didn't want to have all this hot water there. So this then just proved to be an opportunity for a development of a lagoon close by there, which is now a really attractive tourist destination for this part of the country, which is a great kind of combination of where you kind of need to solve a problem and do it by developing something that's nice. In other areas, it can be, people have this maybe image of Iceland as just having endless resources and that everywhere in the country is just booming with geothermal energy and cold water, but that's not really the case. I think Ms. Reid mentioned it yesterday. It's mostly this mostly active volcanic part of the country that has all these geothermal resources and the most abundant cold water resources as well. So these are the places where it's easiest to develop these lagoons. But they have become such an important part of tourist destinations that all parts of the country want to take part in this and make such lagoons, and this can sometimes be tricky. So it's important for when you're going to develop an idea of a lagoon that you're in good collaboration with a utility company and can inform them first to make sure, do we have the resources available for this? Because I can name an example of a small utility in West Iceland, then a lagoon opened and it uses over 60% of all the cold water in the whole distribution system. So this meant, in this case, for example, we needed to drill new wells, we needed to prepare, and that takes time. Even just getting a drill in Iceland is really, it takes time. They are not everywhere.
Thank you. I think we're closing the panel, but I think there's such a beautiful link, and I was not aware the in-depth of what utilities, thermal spas, tourism, and how this could be linked for sustainable tourism for now and the future, and also the educational elements of this whole Instagram of doing pictures but harming the environment and how that could be tackled as well. I thought that was a really nice insight. So thank you to the panelists. Hopefully the audience, you gained some real nice insights in regards to water and tourism. So thank you.